Hi, this is Jim Druitt from Pleasing Terror Games, welcoming you to an evening's entertainment. So before we take a tour inside the app, a little bit of background to this project. I set out to design an interactive storytelling game that would use random ingredients from M.R. James stories to help create unique stories each time you played it. So I've spent the last about 8 months scrutinising all the main stories for details on every character, every scene, every Jamesian story trope, every monster. And I soon realised that it wouldn't be possible to make this into a typical competitive game format. So it's evolved into what can be either a solitaire or cooperative storytelling quest to create a suitably Jamesian sounding story. Now, it's not meant to be used as a quick fix creative writing tool. There's a lot of fantastic Jamesian style authors out there who know their craft well. This is more about having fun, imagining the ingredients that could go into a Jamesian story, and then you can just flesh it out with as much detail as you want to. So rather than lots of boring random number tables, I've designed a house where each room represents an element of story design. So we've got narrative plotting, characters, scenes, and of course the monsters. And you're guided around the house by the spirit of Monty himself, voiced by the wonderful tones of Robert Lloyd Parry from Nunkey Theatre, who kindly gave up his time in his busy schedule to help out with this project. So to use the app, just email me at jimdrew70@gmail.com, so that's JIMDREW70@gmail.com, and I will send you the link, a code, and some PDF files to record the story elements on. So clicking on the link will take you to the page you see before you. On the right are some written instructions, which give some basic guides to the parts of the game. The best thing first to do is click on this blue square here, because that will take the screen to full size. Okay, now I'm going to click the green flag here, which will start the game. So it's going to take you through a welcome part of the app, so I'm just going to skip through this bit now. Okay, so Monty there looking out at us has asked you to put in the code. So you'll enter the code by clicking in the dial, and then you'll click the operator key here. Okay, and then he'll let you into the house. So just going to. So having put in the right code, Monty will come down and he'll open the front door. And you just click on the candle to enter. Okay. So we're in the drawing room, and here you can see there's 4 chairs. We've got one with the narrator, one with characters, one with scene, and one with monster. And they'll take you to the different rooms in the house, okay, where you can build these ingredients. So we're going to start with the narrator, because that's the place to start, so you can build all the main narrative plot device. So we'll click on that. Okay, so what you'll see in the library here is various things that we can click on. We've also got the home page, so I'll just show you what that does. That will take us back to the drawing rooms, where you can get access to the other rooms, so that's always available. Okay, so we'll go back in here, and you'll always have a question mark button in each room that you can click on, and that just basically, when you click on that, will give some instructions about what you can do in that room. Okay, so we're advised to start in the ghost stories section, because that's going to give us the main story tropes to have a look at. So we're going to click in there. Okay, so what you'll see here are 3 main books over here, Elements Part 1, 2 and 3. Now, if you want a very detailed story, you could have all 3 elements of a story going, but for a shorter story, maybe just pick 1 or 2. Now, clicking on one of these will change the title of the book here. Okay, so for example, I'll click that and I get it called Warning Ignored, so that's one of the themes that's going to be in the story. And I might have another one to go with it. I might want a dark ritual passive. So so again, I can go through things here. So let's have a dark object, and what else should we have from here? An active dark ritual, and we won't have a third one. That'll be plenty. So once we can just do that randomly, or we can just decide what we want. Now, when you're happy with that, click on the book, and you get one of these journal pages flash up, and this will, from a random table, will start giving you some ingredients to use. Okay, so our story is going to feature a dark object, which is an engraved globe. Okay, now what you want to do is mark that down in one of the story journal files that I will have emailed you. Okay, so I've gone back, and using that arrow button, I've just clicked on the second dark ritual, which tells us a character, which we'll find out on the character room who that is. Carries out a dark ritual at a particular building, a forbidden place, which we'll find out in the bit more detail in the scene room, using a strip of paper with markings and a chant. And the reason is to foresee the future, and it resulted in something unexpected happening. So we're going to mark that down on our journal as well. Okay, so having noted down the story tropes, I'm going to leave this part of the library and go back to the main library. And I'm going to click on the compass, because that's going to tell us what main locations and secondary locations are used in the story. So I'll click here. Okay, so that tells us the main location is going to be in a house, and we've got some secondary locations of a local's home and a public building. So we'll make a note of those, and we'll get some more details in the scene room. Okay, and now we're going to find out what time periods the story takes place over. So click the clock there, and it's all taking place over the course of 4 days. So again, we'll make a note of that. Okay, and now we'll click the cabinet down here. This will tell us if there's any framing device to the story. Click that, and yes, it's a riddle that was told by a friend to the narrator. Okay, so again, I'll make a note of that. And now the different characters. This won't be names and things like that, but it will give us some details of the main and secondary characters. We'll click on the bust here. So it tells us the main character is an antiquarian, but we've got some secondary characters: a private worker, a valet or servant, another private worker, and a churchman. And finally, we'll click on the suitcase item icon. That's going to tell us the different scene changes and journeys that happen in the story. So it's going to involve travel to a lodging, walking outside, walking to a specific place outside, travelling away, and research. Okay, so now we're back in the drawing room, and we're going to try and put some flesh on the bones of these characters, as it were. So we're going to click on the characters chair, and that will take us into this room here. Okay. Oh, we've got some bottles on the table. So the first thing we're going to do is get some names for the characters. So the main character, if you remember, was the antiquarian. So we'll click on first name. So we've got the name of Sylvanus, that's quite cool. And we'll give him a second name, Wilson. Okay, so we'll make a note of that. And we want to know what he looks like. So we'll click on looks. Now we'll always ask you if the character is male or female, because there's certain looks that won't go well with a female, like a long beard or something. So we'll click on the male icon here, and it tells us that he's got a smile that's not pleasant to see. So a very nice character. So we'll look now at his personality, his character. So let's click on that. he's an orator of repute. Okay, so, and now we don't need to click on a role for Silvanus because we already know he's an antiquarian. So that's only if we've got a more general type of character. So we'll record these and we'll do one more for the private worker, and then I'll fill the others in later. So we'll get a new first name for the private worker. So we've got Simon Disney, and so we'll see what it looks like. He's got a distressing look, and his character mesmerised into complete silence. And we'll give him a role because he's a private worker. Now we might have to trawl through a couple here before we get an appropriate role. So Trump's not really there. Squire, a blacksmith, that would fit absolutely fine as a private worker role. Now, if we wanted to get a little bit more information to flesh out this character, if you hit the light bulb here, that will give you a random prompt there. So if we click on that, what's the character's attitudes to other people, just to get you some more about thinking about that character. Okay, and now we're going to go to the art room to put a bit more scenery on the different places and locations. So we'll click on the scene chair here, and this will take us into the art room. So we've got various pictures here representing different types of places, and what we've got here is if you've got a pub or an inn, you can get a name from that, and if you've got a type of church, religious building, you can click on this to get a particular name for that. Okay, and again we've got the light bulb over here for some extra prompts, and you've got the question mark just to give you some help through this stage. Okay, so what we've got so far is some action taking place in a big house. So we're going to click on place name because we don't really need any of the other things. So the name of the place is Ackford. And to get an extra bit of flavour, we can click Effect on Senses. That'll tell us if anything particular happens to a character, say the antiquarian, when he's at this big house at Ackford. So we click on there. So there's a clock in the church tower nearby strikes while he's there, so that may be significant. Okay, and now we've got a local's home. So again, we don't need any of these, but we want a place name for it. So we'll just click on here. It's Hollywood. So it could be a name of a district, or it could be just the name of the house. Again, you could just trawl through that if you want to change that. So the effect on any senses there's a feeling of someone on watch. And we've got a public building, so this is where we could click on building type and see if we can find something that might fit that. I'll go back there. I think we'll go with the museum. I think that would be a good choice. So ignore the fact it says school there. And there's a smell of dead blood there. I don't know why that is, but we could weave that into the story. Now it's up to you if you want to use these effects on senses. You don't have to use that. I mean, you could click the question mark, or sorry, the light bulb and get a prompt there. We'll try that perhaps on the lodging. So this is where the antiquarian's staying. So perhaps instead of doing that, we'll just click on here. So what's the weather like? What effect does that have on the place while he's there? And finally, it was mentioned in the narrative plot that in one of the journeys there's a specific outside place that the antiquarian goes to. And the dark ritual that's involved is at a forbidden place. So we can actually use some of these here now. So if we click on Forbidden Place, Now we want an outside place, so let's keep going until we find something that might be more suitable. So maybe a garden with a padlocked iron gate. That seems reasonable. And we'll see if there's any effect on sensors that we can use here. A fumbling noise. Finally, we're going to go out of this, and we're going to go and create our monster. So if we click on the monster chair, so this will take us to the cellars, and we've got a load of headstones down here which will give us different aspects about the monster that we're creating. So each monster needs a monster base, and that's going to be humanoid, insectoid, or animal. So if we click that to begin with, it will tell us a one that's based on. So what have we got here? Based on a woman. Okay. So we've got a humanoid monster. And let's see about the head and face. So thin lips, crooked into dreadful smile. The body of rough coarse fur, that's interesting, okay. A covering, so wearing fluttering rags and showing whitey bones. And the feeling that this monster imposes a menace of unappeasable hunger and longing. And how does she move? Very slow and looking from side to side. And any sound that she makes, laughing in a crooning manner. And finally we've got the effect on the victim. So this can be towards the end of the story, what actually happens to the antiquarian. So he's abused and struck at. Okay. And again, you can change any of these if you don't think they're suitable. So perhaps the rough coarse fur, in retrospect, we might change that. So that probably wouldn't go well. So we'll have it being beastly thin. That might work better, actually. So we're going to record those a minute. And finally we've got one here which is the story action. Now, as you know with M.R. James stories, it's never one final image of the monster and everything takes place. It's built up, and you see little bits of the monster weaving into the story, and then you get the final James Ian Wallop, as the guys at the Podcast for the Curious would say. So what I've done when you click story action is some ways that you could use the monster throughout the other locations in the story, or how it might just gradually build up in tension. So we'll click on that a minute. So we've got from a... No, these don't have to be in any particular order. You can obviously change these. So hearing a voice, words in a book, a local story, just a malevolent feeling, and then finally getting some full image. And those can be weaved into the different scenes as you want to. Okay, so there you've got all the ingredients in place. The narrator can then do some plot tie-ins with the different scenes, characters, and monster. Now, if you're playing this as a cooperative game with, say, 4 players, each taking one of these different parts, then the narrator would kick things off and talk about the different scenes, changes, and what's happening in the scene. And then, if there's a character involved, the character player would start giving their particular details about the character. When the scene comes about, then the scene player can give some more details, and then obviously if there's an intervention from the monster player can be doing that. So the narrator is kind of the director of the story, bringing it about, and everyone else is feeding in their parts to it. So use it as you like, have fun, recommend other people to contact me to get the game, and just have a happy evening's entertainment courtesy of Pleasing Terror Games.